Welcome, today's story is full of drama. Like and subscribe to stay updated. Let's get started.
My wife Kara and I, Jonathan, have been married for a long time, 26 years, and we lived together for 3 years before marriage. Both of us had been married and divorced before we met. I have a son from my first marriage, and Kara and I raised the boy, and now we have a granddaughter. We are now in our later years. I am 60 and she just turned 58. Neither of us has movie star looks. Kara is very petite with pixie-like looks and has the cutest rear I have ever seen, plus the body of a woman 20 years younger. My wife is precious to me, and I think she is the most beautiful woman in the world. I love and cherish her, and I'm sure she feels the same way about me. It is evident in how we care for and treat each other. We are best friends and confidants. But what is the problem, you might ask? My loving, caring, cherished wife is sleeping with other men. At least, I think it might be just one man, the one I caught her with. Neither of us has movie star looks. Kara is very petite with pixie-like looks and has the cutest rear I have ever seen, plus the body of a woman 20 years younger. My wife is precious to me, and I think she is the most beautiful woman in the world. I love and cherish her, and I'm sure she feels the same way about me. It is evident in how we care for and treat each other. We are best friends and confidants. But what is the problem, you might ask? My loving, caring, cherished wife is sleeping with other men. At least, I think it might be just one man, the one I caught her with. Let me give you a little background on myself and what has caused the problems I am facing. I am 60, average height, and a little overweight. I have had a heart condition for about 7 years and am on several medications. One of the side effects of some of these medicines is an inability to maintain arousal for very long. We are very loving toward each other with a lot of kissing, hugging, and touching, but I am unable to perform in the bedroom the way I used to. And there's the rub. My wife has always been a big fan of intimacy, so for 7 years, she has had to depend on some toys. This was fine for a while, but apparently not for a steady diet. I am semi-retired. I run a small business that keeps me busy 2 to 3 days a week, but my wife is still working, thank God. I don't know how we would have made it without her excellent salary and health insurance. The company she works for holds meetings quarterly, sometimes more, and she occasionally has to travel to the regional office for these meetings. She's usually gone just 2 or 3 days, flying out on a Thursday morning and returning Saturday morning. Once a year, there is a big regional meeting where spouses are invited, and the company foots the bill. We fly out on Wednesday and return Saturday or Sunday. Very nice. I go and play golf for 2 days while my wife attends meetings. It was at one of these big meetings where I began to notice something wasn't right. After checking into our room on a Wednesday, we went down to the hotel lobby bar to relax and wait for dinner. The meetings and my golf game would start the next day. We were sitting at the bar when one of her coworkers walked up to us. I hadn't met him before since he worked at the regional office. He walked behind Kara, put both hands on her shoulders, and began a gentle massage. Kara leaned forward to remove his hands and said, "Greg, this is my husband, Jonathan. Honey, this is Greg Taylor. He is my counterpart at the regional office." Greg is a nice-looking man, around 5 feet 11 inches, 190 pounds, and about 42 years old. I shook hands with Greg and said I was glad to meet him and that Kara had mentioned what a good manager he was. Greg replied, "Pleased to meet you, Jonathan. I didn't realize your husband was quite this older. No wonder." "Excuse me," I said. "My name is Jonathan. It was my grandfather's name, and I prefer not to disrespect his memory by shortening it." "And what do you mean, no wonder?" "Oh, sorry, nothing at all. See you both at dinner," Greg replied with a smirk on his face. After Greg left, I turned to Kara and asked, "What the hell was that about?" "He treats you like his property by putting his hands all over you, disrespects me and makes that comment. No wonder. What did he mean by that, Kara? What the hell is going on?" A shadow passed over Kara's face, but then she recovered and said, "Greg is just awkward with people and didn't mean anything. And after all, he did say he was sorry. His wife didn't come to this meeting, and he's just a little lonely. Forget about him, and let's enjoy our drinks and dinner before heading up to our room." I didn't want to let it go but decided maybe I was just tired from the flight and overreacting. However, it kept hovering in the back of my mind. We went up to our room and I gave my wife a massage and ran a hot bath for her. While I was starting her bath, the phone beside the bed rang. Kara picked it up, and I overheard the following: "What are you doing calling my room? And why were you so disrespectful to Jonathan downstairs?" Yes, I can't wait much longer either, but we have to be careful. I don't want to ruin my marriage. So you behave until tomorrow afternoon. Okay? As she came into the bathroom, I asked, "Who was on the phone?" She said, "It was the front desk, wanting to know if everything was okay in the room and if we needed anything." Son of a, she lied right to my face. Son of a, how long are your meetings tomorrow? I asked. If you can slip away in the afternoon, I'll give up golf and spend the day with you looking around the city. Kara answered, the meetings will go until about 4:30, with drinks and dinner starting at 6. Go ahead and enjoy your golf game. Now, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm not totally stupid, and I had a feeling there were things going on that I needed to check out. I told Kara, my tea time is for 10 tomorrow. I'll eat lunch at the course, and I should be back to the hotel between 4 and 4:30. That will give me time to get ready for dinner. The next morning, Kara got dressed in a nice business pantsuit, and as she left for her meetings, she kissed me and told me to enjoy my game. Well, I didn't go to play golf that day. I just left the hotel around 10 and drove around until about 1. I returned to the hotel, and as I walked into the lobby, I saw a group of my wife's coworkers at the bar. The bar is an oval with service from all sides, and I sat in a sort of undercover spot and listened to the talk. I heard their plans for the afternoon. I also heard them talking about some of the workers having a party in the private room at the hotel's lounge. One guy said they should be more careful since some of them had their spouses along on this trip. Another man said, Greg had better cool it, her husband is here. It's not the same as the quarterly meetings. One lady said it was different at the quarterly meetings because no spouses came to those, so people could party hard. Of course, I had to check out this private party after the event at the bar yesterday and hearing Greg's name. I walked into the lounge and went to the door of the private room. The door wouldn't open, and the bartender said it was locked for a private party. I walked over to the bar, laid down a $50 bill and asked, is there any way the lock on that door has accidentally stopped working? The bartender just smiled at me, picked up the money and said, there's no way it broke, but I'll unlock it for you. Give me 5 minutes. I got a beer and sat at a table for about 10 minutes. I don't know how I managed to wait as long as I did, but I got up and tried the door again. As I started to enter the room, the bartender said, be careful. I heard one of the guys in there used to box in the Golden Gloves. I'm not looking to cause any trouble, I told him. I just need to check something out. I slowly opened the door and peeked around the corner. There were 3 couples in the room in various stages of undress. The couple I was looking for was in the dimly lit corner behind a table. Greg was sitting in a big chair, and Kara was on his lap, facing him. He had his hands all over her body. My Kara, my wife, my best friend, the love of my life and my soulmate, was screwing around with another man. I wondered if I was having a heart attack as there was a pounding in my chest, and I felt like I might throw up. Slowly, I began to feel better, but then a tremendous, white-hot anger started to surface. I always carry a digital camera on these trips to take pictures of the golf courses I play, and I had it with me. Adjusting the settings for low light, I took several pictures of Kara and that piece of trash, Greg. Then I slipped out of the room before they saw me. What do I do now? Should I rush in and confront them? Should I wait and get my revenge later? The bartender looked up at me and said, sorry, dude. I'm guessing one of the ladies in there is your wife or girlfriend. I asked, when did they come in? He answered, about 12:30. They asked for the private room. They've done this before. You look like you could use a drink, he added. I ordered a double bourbon. He set it on the bar and said, on the house. I laid another $50 on the bar and asked, would you call my room when they leave? He slid the $50 back to me and said, I'll be glad to. I went through the same thing myself about a year ago. I went back to my room to wait and got the call around for that they were leaving. Kara didn't see me as she rushed into our room. I was sitting in the seating area, which you can't see from the sleeping area. She began changing back into the pantsuit that was lying on the bed. "Hi, honey. How was your meeting?" I said. Kara jumped about a foot into the air. "Oh, you're back already?" she asked, looking flushed and nervous as she tried to hide the fact that she was changing back into her pantsuit. "Yeah," I replied. I tweaked my back a little and decided to call it a day. "But I should be okay by tomorrow. I see you changed your outfit. I thought you looked very nice this morning when you left." "Oh, I spilled something on the pants and changed between sessions," she said. "Have you already showered for dinner?" "Yeah, I'll go down to the bar and wait for you. See you in a bit," I said. I got up, gave her a kiss, and started toward the door. As I opened the door, I remembered I had left my card key on the desk. I closed the door and walked back into the room just in time to hear her on the phone. She was saying, "I can't. Jonathan came back early. No, we won't be able to have another drink together like we planned, but maybe we can have a few dances after dinner." Opening and closing the door very quietly, I went down to the bar and ordered a double bourbon. I sat at a table and waited for Kara to come down. A few minutes later, she joined me, and we went in for dinner. Shortly after we sat down, my pal Greg walked by us, grabbed a drink at the bar, and was about to head out. "Hey, Greg, why don't you join us?" I suggested. He looked a little uneasy but agreed and sat down at our table. I pulled my digital camera out of my pocket and said, "Greg and Kara, let me show you the pictures I took today during my travels." I placed the camera on the table in front of them and started scrolling through the pictures I had taken earlier in the private room. Greg became increasingly disturbed and nervous. After the first 2 or 3 pictures, he stood up to leave. Kara had her head down, face covered, and was crying and moaning, "No, oh God, please no." Greg, on the other hand, tried to act tough. "So what? She was there willingly, and I don't think you can do anything about it, old man. Unless you want these pictures to make their way to your wife and your boss, you'd better sit back down," I said firmly. "Now, this is what's going to happen. You," I pointed to Greg, "and you," I pointed to Kara, "are going to tell me everything. How long? How many times? Where? And anything else I want to know. Do you understand me?" Greg nodded and started talking. Okay. We meet at the quarterly meetings and have some fun. Once in a while, we hook up at the big meetings like this one. We've been meeting for about a year. At first, it was just a few drinks and some light petting, but at the last 2 meetings, we've been sleeping together." Kara sat there sobbing and moaning, unable to look up. She didn't say a word, just cried. Greg continued. "She says she isn't being satisfied at home and wants to feel loved again, at least physically. She's not in love with me or anything. She just wants to have some fun. That's according to her." "Kara," I said, "tell him he's scum." I turned back to Greg and said, "You're a married man screwing around with another man's wife without any regard for who it might hurt. I hope you had a good time because it's going to cost you big time. It's over and done. Understand?" Greg nodded so hard he looked like a bobblehead doll. "Do you understand?" I repeated. He mumbled, "Yes." As he stood up to leave the table, I rose too. As Greg stood up, I kicked him as hard as I could right in the balls. He went down like a felled tree. That's just a sample of what will happen if you ever see or talk to Kara again outside of a business situation. I will end your life as you know it. Now crawl out of here, you piece of trash. One of the women at a nearby table gasped and said, "You kicked that man in the crotch?" "Yes, ma'am. Just as hard as I could," I replied. "And I may do it again in the near future." I grabbed Kara's arm and pulled her out into the hallway with me. "Did you really think I was that stupid or so blind that I wouldn't catch on?" I demanded. "Oh, no. Please, God," she cried. "Jonathan, let me explain. Please. I love you, but I was so frustrated with no intimacy. The thing between Greg and me was only about sex. I was feeling old and worthless. I know you can't have sex with me, but I felt unattractive, and it screwed with my head. Kara, it wasn't just for sex. It was a full-blown affair, with dancing, romance, kissing, cuddling, and lovemaking. Not just sex, but lovemaking, I said. Honey, in a way, I could almost understand your need for sex. There hasn't been complete intimacy between us for about 7 years due to the meds I take. But Greg, that low-life piece of garbage? I can't believe your bad taste. I stopped to gather my thoughts for a moment and continued. What I can't forgive is your lack of respect for me. Doing all this at company functions where everyone knows, then I have to socialize with the same people, completely unaware that I'm the object of scorn or pity. Jesus, Kara, why didn't you just shoot me? Kara looked at me, tears streaming down her face, and asked, Where do we go from here? Please, I'll do anything to make it up to you and show you how sorry I am. I don't know where we go from here, Kara, I replied. There's a flight back home tonight at 9, and I'll be on it. I know it's important for your job that you stay here for tomorrow morning sessions, but there's a flight out tomorrow at 1:30 that arrives home around 3. I'll be at the airport to pick you up. If you're there, we can go home and discuss our problems and see if we can solve this situation. If you're not on that plane, I'll pack up and leave tomorrow night and it'll be over. Your choice, Kara. I continued. I don't know if I can get around your playtime and your disrespect of me, but I'm willing to at least talk about your actions and try to figure out what to do about us. Kara responded, Please, Jonathan, we can get past this. Just give me a chance. Enough talk. I'm out of here, I said. See you tomorrow afternoon, or maybe not. Good luck at your dinner tonight and your conference tomorrow. I don't believe you'll be doing much dancing with Greg tonight. Maybe tomorrow, but I don't think so. Kara ran over to me, saying how sorry she was and begging me not to leave, trying to hug me, but I stepped back and held up my hand. Right now, I don't want to touch you. Leave me alone. She pleaded. Please don't go. We can go out to dinner and talk later, and I'll go home with you tomorrow afternoon. Please. I can't, Kara. If I see that piece of trash Greg again, I might kill him this time. I'm very upset with the rest of your coworkers, too. A lot of them knew about this, and it's embarrassing for me to have to face them like nothing is going on. I'm leaving to catch that plane, and I guess I'll hope to see you tomorrow. I don't know how I feel right now. I only know that I hurt so badly. I don't know if I can stand it. I left the entryway where we were standing and went to the desk to pick up my bag. The desk had a shuttle waiting, and I left for the airport. Maybe the flight would calm me down and allow me to iron things out in my head. No such luck. The more I thought, the angrier I got. If Greg had been on that plane, I would have opened the door and thrown him out. After I finally got home, I had a couple of drinks and thought about what I should do. I had a comfortable lifestyle, and that would all change if I split with Kara. One of the things that contributed to this lifestyle was Kara's job and the health insurance that came with it. I could make a living, but I wouldn't enjoy life nearly as much as I did with Kara. Was that lifestyle important enough to stay? My heart was hurting because of Kara's lack of respect for me and our marriage. Could I get past the cheating and stay? The next afternoon, I was at the airport, waiting to see if Kara would get off that plane. Passenger after passenger walked past my viewing spot. Finally, the last one off the plane was Kara. My heart felt lighter when I saw her, but then I remembered why we were here. At least she was worried enough about our marriage to come home. She walked up to me and said, Let's go home and talk. We really need to talk. When we got home, Kara took a shower and then joined me in the family room. So, what do you want to say, Kara? I asked. She looked down at the floor and then up at me. I'm sorry I hurt you. I didn't want that to happen. In spite of what you think, it was only about the sex. Yes, we danced and partied, but there was no love involved, for Greg or me. It was just a good time and a release from the sexual frustrations of the last 7 years. Before you began taking all those pills, our sex life was great. It was loving, exciting, and you always found little ways to make it better and better. Kara broke down a little and stopped talking for a moment. Then she gathered herself and continued. Then all at once it was gone. I handled it for 6 years, but I finally reached a breaking point 2 months ago. It would have been better if I had chosen someone else and somewhere else, but it just sort of happened. Again, I'm truly sorry that you've been hurt. Please forgive me, at least for that. Kara paused and asked, "What are your plans?" "I have to leave, Kara," I replied. "I can't stay here. You said you were sorry I got hurt, but you never said you were sorry you slept with another man. How am I supposed to live with that? The question is, how can I live without you? You've been my life for the last 29 years. Now, I just have to walk away from all those memories and all that love. Your actions have killed all of that, and now all I do is hurt. I have to go or I may die, just like those feelings." Kara was crying again. "Why don't you stay in the house?" she asked. "I'll move into the guest room, at least for now. If you leave and file for separation or divorce, you won't be covered by my insurance anymore. I still love you and don't want you to leave and get sicker without the healthcare you need. Please stay here at least for a few weeks." I thought about it. Why should I suffer because of a cheating wife? I had done nothing wrong. So I decided to stay. Things got back to normal, or as close as they could. We were polite to each other but had very little interaction beyond a few necessary conversations. Kara moved into the guest room and only came into my room to put away laundry or take care of routine things. We pretty much stayed out of each other's way as much as we could. I did, however, start drinking a lot. Well, not just a lot, way too much. There were a few nights where I wasn't even close to sober, and most mornings I started off with a drink. This went on for about a month, and then Kara asked me to sit and talk with her one night. "You must stop this heavy drinking," Kara stated. "It's very bad for you. What are you trying to do? Kill yourself?" "Not really," I replied. "But why should you care if I do? The insurance would pay for the funeral. Then you could play with Greg or any other helpers, without me around to ruin your fun." I wanted to hurt Kara for her infidelity. For the first time since confronting her, I saw anger cross her face. "You asshole," Kara screamed. "I love you. I care about you and worry about you more than anyone else in your life ever has. If I didn't, I wouldn't have subjected myself to this living hell we're in right now. What the hell is wrong with you? Why aren't you taking better care of yourself?" "Okay, you asked for it," I said, voice rising. The one person in the world I really trusted, the one person I loved more than myself, the one person who's been so much a part of me, just screwed me over big time. I'm supposed to accept it and not let that affect me? I can't stand it. I'm going crazy. Kara just sat there, tears running down her face, as I continued. Do I stay here because the alternative is that I might get sicker and die? Or do I do what any man with any pride would do and leave? I was almost screaming by now. There are two reasons I'm still here. One, I'm more afraid of becoming sicker and dying than I am of being a chicken. Two, and this is the most important one, I can't picture my life without you. In spite of what's happened, I still love you. But I don't know if I can get past what you did. That's why I'm drinking. It helps numb my brain so I don't see what was going on in that private room. Now, no more talks. Leave me alone, I said as I went into my room and slammed the door. Things would have remained the same, and I probably would have drunk myself into the hospital. I couldn't get my mind around what had happened to my life. Everything I thought was great was now gone. I guess I would have stayed living that way, not doing anything to change things. However, fate or the gods or the devil decided I hadn't been screwed with enough, and they took part in my little drama. Every week I played the lottery, just $5. I had never won anything at all. Then one weekend I checked the numbers and I won. Not just a little prize, but the whole jackpot. For other tickets had the same numbers, so we shared the big prize. My share was $94 million. Holy hell. I could take the cash, which would have been about $45 million after taxes, or a yearly payout of $1.5 million for 30 years. I put the ticket in my granddaughter's name and asked my son to manage the money for me. That way, it wouldn't be part of a divorce settlement if I decided to go that route. My son wasn't happy about fooling Kara, but he knew the situation and agreed to my wishes. The money meant I no longer had to depend on Kara's insurance or salary. I could leave financially secure without worrying about anything. So now that I didn't have to stay, I faced a new question: do I stay anyway? Do I salvage my pride and leave? I still didn't know what to do. I had my son claim the prize in my granddaughter's name. I did this for 2 reasons. First, the prize was paid out in installments over 30 years. I might not last that long, but my granddaughter would, and my son could see that I got most of the money every year until I was gone. Second, at the time I won the lottery, I was still so angry at Kara that I didn't want her to get any of that money. I thought she might just kick me out and go running to Greg. My mind was really messed up by her affair. After receiving the first check, I started to think more about my situation. I now had financial security, so that was no longer an issue. In spite of my anger and hurt, I thought about all our years together. The last few years hadn't been a picnic for either of us. Kara had never complained and had always been there to take care of me. I decided I should split the money with her. It was only fair. Yes, she had screwed up big time and hurt me terribly, but she had been my best friend, lover, and wife for nearly 30 years. When Kara came home from work, I told her we had to talk about our situation. We went into the family room and sat on opposite ends of the couch. Kara, I can't continue like this. We have to decide how to handle this problem. I'm so mad all the time. I mean, every waking minute. This cannot go on. It's driving me totally crazy. I'm so sorry, Jonathan. I never meant to hurt you, but I became so frustrated and felt so old and useless that I did a very stupid thing. The affair wasn't about love, just the sex and excitement of being wanted. Yes, we danced and made out and had sex. It was a way to relieve my sexual frustrations and make me feel attractive and wanted again. I am so very, very sorry to have hurt you. Please, let's get past this. We have many good years left to enjoy our family and each other. Please, Jonathan, Kara almost begged. Well, let me tell you how I feel, and then you tell me how to get out of this mess you put us in, I said. You've never once said you were sorry for the affair, Kara, only that you were sorry I got hurt. How long would it have continued if I hadn't caught you? Would you still have been sorry if you had never been caught? I believe you're only sorry you got caught, and how public it was when you did. I paused, trying to calm myself down a little, before continuing. You say it was because of your feelings of frustration, feeling old, feeling unwanted and unattractive. For better than 25 years, I've told you every day that I love you. I never left the house without kissing you goodbye and kissing you hello when I came back. You were complimented on how nice you looked almost every day. How can you feel unwanted and unloved after all that? I took a deep breath and added, if you had come to me and told me how you were feeling, we could have taken steps to fix the problems. You didn't care enough about my feelings to discuss it with me. The solution you chose was to drop your panties and spread your legs. That was a terrible thing to do to someone you supposedly loved. I could feel the anger rising again. You screwing Greg isn't even the worst thing you did. The worst thing was doing it in such a public manner, at company functions where everyone knew. Then I have to socialize with those same people, completely unaware that I'm the object of their pity or scorn. Jesus, Kara, why didn't you just tell me? Kara sat with tears streaming down her face, her body racked with sobs. At this point, I didn't care anymore. I had reached my limit. Please, Jonathan, forgive me. Let's get past this horrible thing, Kara said again, her voice shaking. I love you and want us to stay together. Please, Jonathan. Can't we just stay together? No, Kara. I'm done. I've been there, done that, and got the stupid t-shirt. I'm leaving you, and I'll file for divorce tomorrow. The papers were drawn up the first week we got back from the meetings. I'll have to make a few adjustments, but they'll be filed tomorrow. Now Kara was really crying, sounding like her heart was breaking. Well, why not? Mine certainly had. Kara, can you look at me for a moment? I asked. When she finally looked up, I told her, we've been married for 29 years. The first 28 would be graded from good to wonderful. This last year has been hell. In spite of that, and because of all the good years, I'm going to do something honorable and completely unlike me. You know what a vindictive bastard I can be when I've been crossed. I took a deep breath. I've won the lottery big time, and I'm going to split my winnings with you. I had the ticket put in our granddaughter's name so someone in the family will get every penny. My son will take $50,000 a year for managing the account, and the rest will be split evenly between you and me. Kara looked at me in shock. You won the lottery? Big time? She asked, her voice trembling. Yes, I replied. And I've already made arrangements. My son will manage the funds, and the money will be distributed to both of us fairly. This way, neither of us will have to worry about money. However, I don't want you to contact me after the divorce is finalized. I've made my decision, Kara, and I'm done. I'll be out of the house by tomorrow. Kara started crying harder. Jonathan, I don't want the money. I'd rather have you stay. Please don't leave me. I'll do anything to make this right. I had to pause for a moment when she said that. If I really wanted to be vindictive, I could sue her employer and Greg. I was certain their company had engaged in unethical behavior, allowing relationships like this to flourish at corporate events. I thought about it for a moment, then said, if I really wanted to hurt you, I would sue your employer. I'm sure they wouldn't take kindly to all this being exposed in court. But I won't. We've had too many good years together for me to be that much of a bastard. You may deserve it, but I'll leave that to God. I stood up and looked at Kara one last time. I'll be gone when you get home from work tomorrow. Don't call me. Don't try to see me. I don't want to know you anymore. Goodbye, Kara. I loved you so much it almost hurt. You've killed that, and now all I feel is pain. The divorce papers were filed the next day, and Kara didn't contest them. She just signed and closed the book on our marriage. It was finalized within a few weeks. Shortly after, I heard that Greg's wife had received some anonymous photos of him and Kara together. She apparently didn't take it well. She kicked Greg out and divorced him, taking him to the cleaners in the process. For a while, Kara and Greg lived together, but it only lasted a couple of months. I guess the thrill of sneaking around was gone, or maybe Kara got fed up with supporting him. After they split, Greg had a string of bad luck. He was robbed and beaten during a mugging. He ended up with a broken kneecap, a broken arm, and almost lost a testicle. The police questioned me and Greg's ex-wife, but we both had airtight alibis. I had been on my boat with my son and granddaughter at the time of the incident. I took a loan against my share of the lottery winnings, about $2 million, and used it to buy a lakefront house in Southern California. My days were now spent fishing, playing golf, and relaxing on my boat. Occasionally, two lovely young women would sunbathe nude on the bow of my boat. I didn't mind that they were there for the money. At least I knew what to expect from them, no surprises, just good times. After everything settled down, I changed doctors. My new doctor adjusted my medication, and I could finally sustain an erection for more than 5 minutes. No marathon sex parties, but I could at least pleasure myself and a partner. Not more than once a day, but that was a great improvement. It had been 2 years since the divorce, and I was finally moving forward. I know some people would say I should have told Kara to pound sand when I won the lottery. After all, she betrayed me. But in my defense, she gave me 28 wonderful years out of our 29-year marriage. Despite her terrible actions at the end, she had been my best friend and an incredible partner for most of our life together. Now, with my lottery winnings, I was enjoying life to the fullest. I had bought a Ford Ranger and an F-150, both perfect for my new lifestyle. I spent my time on the lake, playing golf, or just relaxing. I often had company, young women in their 20s or 30s who rotated in and out of my life. I knew they weren't in love with me, but I didn't care. After my experience with Kara, I wasn't interested in love anymore. I preferred to keep things light and simple. One day, as I was sitting on my patio watching two nearly nude women sunbathe by my pool, my son, Lucas, walked up the side of the house to join me. Lucas had been divorced for different reasons but was now a single parent raising my granddaughter. He and my granddaughter often spent time at my place. Lucas sat down looking serious. "Pop, I need to say something," he began. "I don't want you to go ballistic, so just hear me out." "Go ahead, Lucas," I said. "I'll try to keep my cool, but no promises." Lucas sighed. "You need to meet and talk to Mom. She's a mess. She's losing weight, looks awful, and doesn't seem to care about herself anymore. She needs help." I shook my head. "Lucas, I appreciate your concern, but there's no way I want to see or talk to Kara. What she did to me was the most horrible thing anyone has ever done. Don't bring this up again. Lucas looked at me with determination. Pop, you always told me that if you thought you were right, you should fight for it. Well, I'm fighting for this. If you can't put aside your pride and help her, then I'm done. You won't see me or your granddaughter again. When Lucas finished, I jumped to my feet, glaring at him. Lucas stood up too, and I had to look up at him. He's 6 feet 4 inches, and I'm only 5 feet 8 inches. You're getting a little cocky, talking to me like that, youngster, I said. Lucas didn't back down. I learned from you, Pop. You taught me to fight for what I believe in, and I believe this is the right thing to do. You've punished Mom enough. It's time to let it go. I stared at him for a long moment, my anger boiling, but deep down, I knew he was right. Finally, I sighed. Okay, fine. I'll call Kara tomorrow morning. But don't push me on this again. Lucas relaxed a little and smiled. Thanks, Pop. That's all I'm asking. Now, I said, trying to change the subject, how about a couple of beers and watching my ladies play volleyball? Lucas laughed. I'd love to, but I have to pick up your granddaughter from after-school care. Not sure my heart could handle watching that redhead jump around anyway. How do you do it, Pop? How do you keep up with all of this? My heart is pure, Lucas, I said with a smirk. That's how. Lucas shook his head, still laughing. You're something else, old man. Don't forget to call Mom tomorrow. He waved as he walked back to his truck. The next morning, I couldn't put it off any longer. I grabbed the phone and called Kara's number, hoping she wouldn't answer and I could leave a message. But she picked up after the first ring. Hello, Kara said, her voice weak and lifeless. Hi, Kara. It's me, Jonathan, I said. There was a pause. I didn't expect you to call me, she replied softly. Not after the last time we saw each other. Yes, well, here I am. What's this I hear about you not eating or taking care of yourself? I asked, not even trying to sugarcoat it. It just doesn't seem to matter anymore, she said. The company fired me, and that took the wind out of my sails. You've been very generous, but I need something to keep me going besides money. My work made me feel useful and needed. Now I don't have you or my work, so why bother? I was silent for a moment, feeling a twinge of guilt. Wait, what do you mean they fired you? Did they fire Greg too? Kara started crying. No, they only fired me. They said I violated company policy by fraternizing with another employee. I was given 30 minutes to clean out my office, and security escorted me out. I don't even know if Greg was punished. Hearing her story made my blood boil. Despite everything, I couldn't believe the company would treat her like that while Greg apparently got off scot-free. Kara, I said after a moment, I'm going to look into this. Promise me you'll start taking care of yourself. Why would you help me after everything I've done to you? She asked, her voice shaking. Because you were my wife for 29 years, I replied. Because, in spite of everything, I can't just sit back and let them screw you over like this. Now, promise me. She sighed. Okay, Jonathan. I'll eat something and try to pull myself together. Thank you. After we hung up, I immediately called the company's main office and asked to speak to Greg Taylor. His secretary put me through, and Greg answered the phone. Greg Taylor speaking, he said. Hi, Greg. It's Jonathan. Remember me? I said coldly. There was silence on the other end before he stammered. Jonathan. What do you want? Nothing much, I said. Just wondering why Kara got fired while you're still sitting pretty in your office. That wasn't my decision, Greg stuttered. I tried to stop it. Cut the crap, Greg, I snapped. You and your buddies at the company are going to pay for this. Big time. Enjoy your cushy little job while you can. You're not going to have it for long. I hung up before he could respond. After hanging up with Greg, I immediately called my attorney, Steve. He had helped me through the divorce and we had become good friends during that time. Steve, I said, I need your help again. What's going on, Jonathan? He asked. I explained what had happened to Kara, how the company had fired her while letting Greg off the hook, and how I wanted to take action. Do we have a case here? Or am I just wasting my time? Steve's voice lit up with enthusiasm. Oh, we absolutely have a case. What they did to her reeks of wrongful termination and gender discrimination. And if they've allowed a culture of this behavior at their events, we might even be able to expose a pattern of misconduct. Let's get to work. Good, I said. I don't care about the money. I just want to make them pay for what they did to her. You got it, Steve said. I'll bring in our expert on employment law, and we'll put together a strong case. Sit tight. I'll handle everything. Over the next few weeks, Steve and his team worked tirelessly, uncovering evidence of the company's shady practices. It turned out that Kara wasn't the only one who had been punished unfairly while others got off scot-free. The company was facing a full-blown scandal by the time we filed the lawsuit. The media caught wind of the story, and the public outrage grew. Eventually, the company agreed to settle out of court. 3 months later, I was sitting in Kara's apartment. She looked healthier and more like herself again. Animated and full of life, she smiled as I handed her the settlement check. This is for $1.5 million, Kara said, her voice full of surprise. Yeah, I replied. Steve pushed hard for a quick settlement, and the company didn't want this dragging out in court. They also agreed to overhaul their policies to prevent this from happening again. Kara teared up. Jonathan, thank you. You didn't have to do this for me after everything I've done to you. I shrugged. You were my wife for nearly 30 years, Kara. In spite of everything, I couldn't let them treat you like that. Just take care of yourself, okay? A few days later, Kara and I met at a cafe. She looked better than I had seen her in years, but I knew this wasn't going to be easy. Jonathan, I just want to say again how sorry I am for everything I put you through, she said. I'll never forgive myself for hurting you like that. I nodded, leaning forward. Kara, I believe you're sorry, but this isn't about forgiveness anymore. It's about moving forward. I can't forget what happened, and I don't think I can ever fully trust you again. Without trust, we have nothing. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she nodded. I understand, she said softly. I hope one day you can find peace. I hope the same for you, I said. But I think it's best if we keep our interactions focused on our son and granddaughter. Beyond that, it's time for both of us to move on. We parted ways, and though it was bittersweet, I felt a sense of closure. I had done what I could to help her, and now it was time to focus on my own life. It's been over 2 years since the divorce, and I've finally found peace. My lakefront home in Southern California is my sanctuary. I spend my days fishing, golfing, and enjoying the company of friends. And yes, sometimes a few lovely young women who appreciate my generosity. I've learned not to take life too seriously. After everything I've been through, I've earned the right to enjoy myself. I've even started dating again. Her name is Sophia, and she's a kind, smart, and funny woman who brings joy back into my life. While I'll always carry some scars from my past, I know I'm on the right path. Life isn't perfect, but it's good, and that's enough for me.